Hey XR, this is Snakey here, and today I'm gonna show you my second build in Delirium Lich, which is Necromancer Low Life Volatile Spellslinger. The new gem Spellslinger is perfectly fit with low life build, as we can still got Aura and Hurdle to boost our DPS, while the Spellslinger reserving our mana pool. In this build we do not require Enlighten, we only need the mana reserve reduction in passive tree to make this build works. In defensive, with new Caster Jewel, we got 60 plus block chance, tons of energy shield regeneration and leeching. Mostly we can face a lot of content including this one, but not including that. Let's go to the explanation of this smoothing turret. This is a quick showcase for someone who don't know how this combo works. We simply flick and swing our wand with attack skill. The Desecrate spawns corpses, then the Volatile that consume those corpses to summon a Volatile orb, and so on and so on. Also, we will need a wand that crafts the trigger a socket spell when we use a skill. We put Flammability for Curse, Bone Offering for block chance, and Wave of Conviction for Enemy Fire Resist reduction. Rough to mention is that the trigger a socket spell, they trigger spells from top to bottom, not simultaneously. But this does not affect so much for our build, just a tips for you. Please find the description for the paste bin for my character. Necromancer is the best for the Volatile deck, as we got a lot of buff effect when we consume corpses, which we will be consuming corpse every second. We got energy shield regeneration from Essence Golden, we got damage, attack speed, shield and shock effect from Corpse Pack and Blade Bringer. And finally, we got Mistress of Sacrifice, gives us tons of block chance. All of them makes this build very tanky. I used the two same spell large Caster Jewel for this build. They are Essence Rush for energy shield leeching, Counter Wall for spell block, and Burden Projection for the knockback effect. With medium Caster Jewel, I go for Master of Fear for Unnerved and Calling Strike with Curse. Thanks for the one with trigger socket spell, so the Curse is always on, the Unnerved and Calling Strike is always on as well. The rest of the small Caster Jewel will be energy from Naughty. With attribute it helps us easier for gearing. This is a non-crit build, so we have Elemental Overload to boost our DPS. If you want a crit build, you have to invest a lot on it, and maybe you need another passive tree and Caster Jewel. You can find one Caster Jewel version in description as well, so you can leave the Caster Jewel at last if you really can't find them in the market. Let's go through the gear selection. This build requires some unique items to make it work. For chest, Chevron's wrapping. Most low life build needs it, no explanation needed. For offhand, Prince Guardian. Trip for our aura setup, and you don't have to worry about the mana reservation in blood magic. This shield is not providing any energy shield though. If you want more energy shield, maybe you need an Enlighten level 4 and adjustment for your aura setup. On helmet, Crowns of the Inwarded Eyes. It has Transfiguration of Soul, Body and Mind, which increase our spell damage accordingly by our life, energy shield and mana increases and reduction. Mainly it saves a lot of our Amulet Anointment for Tranquility. Amulet, Presence of Chavira for Amulet. Chaos Resist cannot be stunned, and 20% of life to ES conversion, that's all we need. Those are the units that this build required. You can switch other high energy shield gear for your own, but you have to adjust the mana reserve problem, like get rid of one of the aura or such. So the rest of the gear, gloves, boots and belts, simply we go for high energy shield and resistance as general energy shield build. For rank selection, before you have currency, one slot you can go for energy shield and resistance, and the other you can have a flammability on hit ring for your DPS. As our passive tree, we are nearby the dual curse passive, so we can have elemental weakness in our wand for trigger, and we can have a flammability on hit to maximize our DPS output with a budget setup. The luxury setup, we can take to Circle of Anguish, aim for increased fire damage and buff for Hurdle of Ash to boost our base damage. They are pricey, but if you can manage to grab those with enough resistance, the increasing on DPS is worth it. For Frost, we have Remy's Concussion for block chance and armor, and Rise Off for fire penetration. Be aware of the Rise Off only penetrate your highest uncapped elemental resistance. If your fire resist is not the highest one, you can switch Steep Knife Flask for defensive and immunity. We will have two Jewel Socket. The one below Pink Ultimate, we use energy from within to transform the knife look to energy shield. The other one, we have general increase maximum energy shield and fire damage, area damage and such. Luxury, we can have Watcher Size for extra energy shield while we have Clarity. This provides almost 1000 energy shield, but it is not essential for this build. In wands, it is a complicated one. A Spellslinger have the support skill have added spell damage equal to 100% of damage of equipped wand, which means if we grab a add fire damage wand, the added fire damage will add into the spell as well. Thus, in this case, we are looking for one that the priority are +1 or fire spell skill. This is not only increase the Volatile death level, but also our anger and Hurdle of Ash as well. Second one, adds flat fire damage as high as we can. This mod directly affects your Volatile death damage. And then the rest will be increased spell damage, increased fire damage, attack speed is nice to have, and have a suffix to craft trigger socket spell. This is not include Warlord's mod like fire penetration or fire exposure. You can find one which fits your build. Next we talk about gem setup. This part will be more detailed cover for mana reserving on Spellslinger. For our Volatile deck, I linked with Spellslinger, Spell Cascade and Elemental Focus. This is our main setup. The fifth one, we can either take Conk Effect, Control Destruction or Energy Leech. Personally, I choose Energy Leech as it match our caster jewel when we leeching Energy Shield. The sixth one is Inspiration. For Inspiration, we will have the explanation in the Fancy setup, so we will talk about it later. For Desecrate, we only need 3 links for it, which are Desecrate, Spellslinger and Spell Cascade. For Frenzy, it will be Frenzy, Barrage Support, Combustion and Inspiration. Here it comes to the explanation of Inspiration. If we only link Inspiration in our Volatile deck, we cannot trigger the Inspiration charge as we did not spend any mana on Volatile deck. We only trigger it using Spellslinger. Thus, to make Inspiration work in our Volatile deck setup, we have to put the Inspiration on our Fancy as well. Worth to mention is that the Inspiration charge is globally affected, which means if you have generated Inspiration charge, the skill you linked with Inspiration is also affected, even the skill you did not use it to generate the charge, just like our Volatile deck setup. Those are the main setup for our Volatile deck and Desecrate with Spellslinger. In Aura, as we have Prime's Guardian, we simply slot Anger, Solitary and Vile Discipline in our shield, and we are ready to trigger Pink Ultimate. We will take 1 red slot for Hurdle of Ash as well. Like the video mentioned before, with this setup we do not require any Enlighten or extra mana reserve reduction in our gear or passive tree. Long story short is that if you follow this setup, you don't have to worry the mana reserve problem at all. If you want to maximize your DPS, you will have to do some adjustment for your mana reserve reduction. Firstly, we link to Conk Effect and Control Destruction for your Volatile deck. Desecrate with Enlighten and take those nodes in passive tree. And then you drop Inspiration in Frenzy, you link Frenzy, Combustion, Curse on Hit and Elemental Weakness for dual curse, in which it is very annoying and cause of giving up your energy shield node in passive tree. Like I said, if you don't want to worry about the mana reserve problem, just follow the passive tree and the inspiration setup, you are good to go. Otherwise, you will need a lot of adjustments to maximize your DPS. The rest will be our mobility, Flame Dash with Arcane Surge and Tempest Shield for more proc chance. As we have skill effect duration, we only have to press Tempest Shield once in every 17 seconds. With this setup, we will have one socket left. If you have the water size, please place level 1 character for the extra energy shield, or you can have a portal for convenience. Compared with life build, energy shield build with correct setup is much more tankier in Delirium. Necromancer is perfectly fit for Spellslinger Volatile as the ascendancy is all rounded in this build. We got damage, we got energy shield regeneration, we got block chance and such. Also, the Volatile with Spellslinger is like autopilot. We don't have to worry about the aim, so we can focus on dodging and pick things up. Overall, the experience of this build is very nice. The only problem maybe it needs certain unit to make this build happen. I would recommend you can start with CI before you have Chevron weapon, then respect to low life will be much more easier. For Simulacrum, it can be easily done by standing there with autopilot mode. Sometimes we have to move just for the ground effect. Volatile that also is a good blight map farmer as well. We don't have to move around so busy for the enemy spawning. The only problem with this character is that the limitation of the DPS. If we want higher DPS, we have to investing in crit version, which the gear requirement is much higher, and we have to give up some defensive for the trade-off. This build already done our endgame content, including Awaken level 8 Cyrus, as we can focusing on dodging and release the Volatile without aiming accurately. The showcase will start now, and I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.